Hello my friends. Today I would like to talk with you about the sacred knowledge here from Central Europe. I offer you some theories and I'm very interested in what you are thinking about this. It's about Druids, shamans and those people that have been keeping the wisdom and the wise man, the wise woman here from Central Europe. So let's start. While I'm riding with my beautiful Hutsul horses here in the Carpathian Mountains to the summer pasture. By the way, these are Fagus sylvatica, the European red beech, which is surrounding me here, is the biggest virgin forest of this tree species in the whole world. So what I have to say is some of the knowledge I could gather here from the old people, what I was observing, what I learned from my animals, and what I've been learning through the internet, books, and a lot of conversation with very interesting, smart people. Most of this was in German, so I'm sorry for my bad English, but I think it's better to share this with as many people as possible. In English, some very interesting people have been writing about the same stuff. For example, Barbara G. Walker, it's very interesting what she found out, and Marija Gimbutas. So, what I believe, and today is a very special day, it's Easter here, we had a big ceremony with our community today, and I found it all being true, what I found out in my books, because I can still, in this primitive in a positive way, it's like, I like the original stuff, visible and obvious that some of those theories seem to be right. The main theory, I believe, is that the priests of, how is it called, Constantinople, we call it Byzance, today it's Istanbul. It was a very important city. It was the Celtic city. It's at least one of those areas in Byzance was Celtic. And we have the other big city, it's called Rome. And you know, Rome was conquered by the Hun people and by Vandal people. So those were German tribes. Germania and the Celtics were the names that Roman empires gave to those aborigines, how do you call it, indigenous people of Europe. Because we had indigenous people and we still have. It's very interesting that we in Europe forgot, or maybe it's by especially made like this, that we don't talk about the Aboriginal people of Europe, especially in Central Europe. It's a very interesting history. So, but even this story is very sad, because what I think is that we had for 30,000 years quite stable matriarchate society along the Danube Delta, the Danube River, and let's say from the Italian peninsula up to what's today called Kiev, to the Black Sea in Odessa. So that you have a clue about the size, what I'm talking about. It's Central East Europe, I would say. And especially this area is very interesting because as an ecologist, I'm not interested so much into virgin forests, but into edges. The edge of a forest is, for me, much more interesting than the edge or than the center of a deep jungle. Because where the frontiers are meeting, the culture is exchanging and challenges are forcing to develop. And what we had there is the meeting of the two landscapes. It's the Pannonian steppe land and the huge forest of this Fagus Sylvatica, where I'm right now. It's the most eastern part of this ancient forest that was, for those that know geography, it was once from the Carpathian Mountains till the Black Forest, or cities you may know is Strasbourg, one of the major cities in Europe. So it's a huge, dense forest for many, many centuries. And there always have been living people for at least 100,000 years with a high developed culture. And this high developed culture is, for me, the one that some people call Old Europe, along the Dunai River. And this egalitarian matriarchat have been building the first cities. And their wise people were women. And women are the wisdom keepers. They sit next to the fire and they gather this knowledge of the traveling people. So you have several categories. You have hunters, mostly men, that having their initial ritual while hunting in the forest. Then young women that completely innocent and having a very good sensitivity for, how do you call it, intuition. And then those women initiated by giving birth. So initiation for me is when you can communicate and see and talk to the devas, to the spirits of the nature. So when you see that you are one with everything that's alive, that you're all connected. So those tribes had many thousand years to develop wisdom. And they have been trading with each other, and they had communication with many other tribes down to Turkey. Probably from Turkey they came, and up to the Caucasus, where you now have Georgia and all this crazy mountain regions, and to the west I'm not quite sure, but at least to the North Sea, and maybe even to the Britannia, to the England Islands, where we still can see the megalith culture from the Atlantic, where those people have been gathering and doing their ceremonies. I have to call my horses, he's getting nervous. Excuse me. But then something very terrible, weird happened. Those from the steppe area, they started to get loose, to roam free, to gather metal, to develop weapons, and maybe even to ride horses. And they had the big advantage of killing other people. So those peaceful, egalitarian matriarchats, they had no chance, and they got enslaved. And in this procedure, we lost our matriarchat culture in waves. I will go and gather those horses. So there they come. And it took many centuries and rudiments. You know, rudiments is like what's left over, and you can still see that once it was useful or had something, and now it's just a little tradition or a little bit left over. There they come, you see. I love them. They don't listen to me, but we love each other and respect each other. So those people that came and conquered those peaceful egalitarian societies, they were fighting against the women. The women were the ones that connecting the tribes. They were traveling between the tribes and they were giving information. So they were dangerous for those that put hierarchic systems into place, because hierarchy is killing. And if you have a peaceful culture, anyway. So what we could see there is that a new wisdom, the new wisdom keepers were developing in the Celtic, they call them Druids, the European shamans. The Germans didn't like them, and about 500 before Christ, even the Celtic teared them down. They had trouble, and they established their cult in Ireland, Isle of Man, Moa, and Britannia, Scotland. Wow, beautiful bird. I just saw, you know, this kookaburra, shining bird, whatever. Eisvogel in German. And those wisdom keepers, the Druids, they were learning from Egypt. They were learning from Pythagorean schools and traveling to Persia. And they had the knowledge of the sun, the knowledge of the moon, the knowledge of the stars. So they could predict when something special is happening, like when the days get longer and when the darkness of the sun or the moon is getting dark or the red. And with this predictions, they had a powerful situation. And they were keen on collecting silver and gold. Because with this silver and gold, they could pay the wise men of Egypt, where they learned this knowledge, the newest knowledge. There's the development. So they established hierarchic, sacred societies. They spoke Old Greek and had secret meetings and over 10 years, sometimes 15 years of education. They had language. We call in German Buchstaben. So because of those trees, beach, and in those beaches they were writing their knowledge. But mostly it's said they just learned it by heart. But their way of communication and their ability to travel, being weaponized, but not being forced to fight. They were able to travel to different countries and then let the simple farmers get to know a little bit of these parts and could gather their respect. And then something happened, that the Roman Empire, especially Byzance, started to conquer. The Romans were killing, Caesar was hunting the Druids because he wanted to get their gold. He wanted the money of the Celts, with which he made himself huge conquistador, how you say it, empire, like tyrann, dictator, whatever you want to call it, because he was keen to get the money and make the Celtic people pay taxes. Gallia was the name he called it, Gallic War. He wasn't even able to conquer Germania, because in Germania there was not so much gold, not so much iron. They were still quite primitive, very strong people, fighting to the end, not being afraid of death. They were not so much confused like the Celtics, because the priests have been conquering and maintaining their power with fear. Fear to die, fear of divorce, of separation, because they wanted to maintain their power. So they were not spreading peace, egalitarian, or other things that would help to become strong, like the Germans. The Druids were conquering tribes, and their power was fear and silver and gold and sacred knowledge. So when Caesar and after him Augustus were killing the Druids, they saw that they could get eradicated, like all those other tribes in Palestine, like many examples going through my head of tribes that have been completely eradicated. You just have to read the Bible before Christ and see what's the way how to treat those people that don't believe, that those people that honor nature. Or just look in the ancient history of Egypt before those priests were ruling the Egypt. There was a peaceful matriarchate, and then those pharaohs from the north, maybe even from Caucasus, those people that also eradicated the Dunai culture, they were also a little bit earlier conquering Egypt and ruling Persia. So the Zarathustras, the patriarchate, those that don't honor the mother, the ground, the materia. I have to breathe, because breathing is me. And this telephone, this technique, is just distracting me, but I love to get out this message and share with you those information, whether you're interested or not. Maybe some people are reached by this, because it's getting closer to what I want to say. What I think it's very important, although it's very important to know your history, especially your ancient history, your prehistory, because this is more true than what's written down by those that were burning books. The book burning culture is ruling us right now, as you see the censorship, like James Corbett describing it as the Bibliotheca of Alexandria is burning. So let me get back to the story. When Caesar and after him those dictators were eradicating the Druids, and the Druids run and hide. They told their story and asked for help. And suddenly, one very cruel man came to place. We call him the Great It's not Alexander, but Constantine. After him, it's called Constantinople, what's today called Istanbul. It was, until him, it was called Byzance. He went to York to get his crown. And in York, why? It's so far away, but it's the same culture. He went there because he knew that the Druids have been hiding there against the Western Roman Empire. It was 390 after Christ. After they have been hunted down for 500 decades. Centuries, much more than decades. So he got the crown in York because he got the silver and the gold from them. And he took them, I mean the Druids, to tell him what to do. Those wise men, they say, we give you the money to become the king of the Eastern Empire, but you have to take us into your council, into your kingdom as a legal entity, and as those people that were accepted and get their own area in Byzance, Constantinople. And what they did, they understood that the Christians nobody likes because they were poor, no money, just some weird occult group that was so desperate and so much suffering under the Roman Empire that they got some illusion of life after death will be great. And with this knowledge they got hope, and this hope was keeping them alive. Because the Romans were so spoiled, they were just ruthless and killing. And they could just survive because of the knowledge. It was not knowledge, it's confused stuff. But it keeps them strong. When you believe, I don't care, I like being dead. Christians. So everybody was looking down to them, and they were burning them and putting them to lions for fun. But the Druid says, let us be their leaders. And as soon as they become, under Constantine, their leaders, and Constantine's son was a little bit more open, but Constantine was listening to the Druids. And very soon he started to forbid all these other practices. It was not just forbidding. You knew those temples of those different religions. It was not like today, you have like 3 or 5 big religions. You had hundreds of different interpretation of different gods, of different cults. And most of them were making quite a lot of money. You know, Delphi and those places were very rich because people went there, they got high, and they left a lot of money there and got back with quite interesting knowledge. And those Druids, they were closing down those temples, tearing them down to zero, like tearing them apart, and putting their new churches, their new monasteries on top. And with these monasteries, they collected money, more money, silver, gold. You know, until quite recent, I think the Vatican was one of the richest institutions in the world. Maybe it's still today because they have still those knowledge. One small anecdote, when I was in Bolivia, I saw all this, what now Graham Hancock is talking about, this earthworks, you know, the channels, the huge fishing ponds that were handmade, you know, the roads. You could see this because we were working there, and it was amazing. I was searching for wild cocoa in Beni, Bolivia. It was this Terra Preta. And the point is that there yeah, it's a very sad story, man. They killed so many in this period. So many good people were killed that said, no, no, you will not rule us. But they teared it down to zero and collected money and collected more and more money. Ah yeah, and the Jesuits went to Bolivia and they saw all this richness, all this wow. And 200 years later, it was gone. Everything was gone. And now you need somebody like Graham Hancock to tell us, hey, there was something, we don't know. And he's called like a, I don't know, conspiracy theorist or whatever. So you know something is really, really wrong in our society. It's frightening. Wild pigs have been here, great. So the same they did everywhere, you know. They couldn't conquer North Europe for quite a while. But after 500 years, building a huge wall around and killing and killing and killing and ruling with religion, they gave up. Is what Chlodwig and what you know as Merowinger, that says, okay, we lost. Yes, stop the killing. But the opposite was the case. The killing just started then. So it's a very tragic history. Wow, today is big holiday and people coming here in our sacred valley. Let's see, we are shortly interrupted, so I can show you a little bit the landscape, where we are riding, where we are living. Or maybe I will run a little bit. Let's run. Yeah! Yeah! Woo! Wow! The road's end. Whoa, 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 whoa! The road that just ended. No. Oh shit! This is the end. My only friend. The end. Ho 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 ho! Shit! Come on! Come on! I lost my stairs. Now I'm lost. Hoppa. Okay. Ich hab's vergriffen. Stui. No. Okay. I lost the control. Let's go. Into the forest. Oh. Stop it. Oh. They bring me somewhere we have never been before. Bujan. Stui. Opa. Crazy. They did damage here. Okay. Stop. Oh. Oh. Beautiful. Anyway. No, that's enough. Okay, I have to repair this before we keep on running. Just a simple nut. So today, at the Easter ceremony, I saw exactly that. That a priest that looks like a woman with his long coat, everything in white, with a long beard, big head, weird behavior, occupying this forest people, asking them for money, and telling us something about that. And he knows, I know how it really is, what you should believe, how you should behave. And some true is in there, something is in there, because it's doing it at the magic time, you know. Here, end of April, it's magic in the air, you know. And people in these, they still know it, because they, mostly, not in the cities, but here in the countryside, they live with nature. So he looks like a woman because he has been stealing, not he, I don't blame him, but this cult has been stealing the knowledge of the wise women. And now telling us how to behave in nature, how to behave with the nature, how to behave with each other. We want just to celebrate, we want to have orgasm, we want to have community, we want to have a life with our friends, we just want to have party, we want to be outside, initiated. And they put it into their ritual and ask us money for it, you know. But nevertheless, today we can access this knowledge. We can read for those that can read. We can listen for those that can listen. For those that are interested. I mean, you can just damn yourself with television or mainstream media, but that's like dying. Or you can go out. Oh, they did big damage here. And it's a protected area, man. And enjoy nature. And become one with them. Because you are nature. So you get what I'm talking about? It's what we have to know about our origin, about our culture. To see. Because those priests, not only the ones that are sitting now in, how do you call it, Vatican? No, man, it's getting bigger. They got very strong and powerful. They made those sacred societies. How you call it, Mason, Freemason, and all those other secret societies. Our culture was never secret. It's all plain open. So, truth. There to grab. You don't have to make a secret around it. So those secret societies, they hate people. They don't want democracy. They don't want egalitarian societies. They don't want us to be out, to be wise. So you have the chance to get this knowledge. It's now in the open. You find it in the internet. You find it at TikTok, you know. Crazy time, but I think just for a short time now. So you should use it. Read books. Read secret books, you know. Because there's many true in their words. There's a lot of knowledge we already lost. And we can gather all this knowledge and build a new culture, a rainbow society, forest people. The problem is we lost the land, you know. They took it away from us. And we should be peaceful, because when we use their force, their way of communication violently, we will lose, because they are much stronger and better organized. We have to hide and start with serious community structures. Okay, guys, I have to go riding a little bit because there are people, so I'm not alone anymore. See you next time.